All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. So, there was a hoist up in the loft. I was the hoister. This is what I hoisted. And, yeah, so I'm stealing the hay. And in my last video, I left a cliffhanger of why did my grandfather get rid of Barney the horse. Did you guys, I hope my camera caught that. Did you guys see that? That was a freaking, an SS Chevelle there, the red SS Chevelle with just caught a glimpse of it. And there's I wonder if there's a car show on. We're getting close to June, so there should be car shows pretty soon. I want to take my nephew to a car show. But anyway, yeah, why did my grandfather get rid of the horse? The best workhorse, Barney, right? He was a really good workhorse, super stubborn horse, but when he worked, he busted his ass. He was like the workhorse, best bush workhorse, just an all-around good workhorse. Back in the 50s, okay, it's not like today where people, you know, like that's my brother's car, right? That would never happen back in the 50s. That car would be fixed until it was just nothing but a chassis and rust, right? Like, things would have to be broke. But also back then, you could keep things running with paper clips and shoestrings, right? You know, everything was very analog. There was no computers. The average person could fix their own vehicle. So my grandfather had, I'm not 100% sure what it was called. Hey, little buddy. What? I'm stealing the hay. I'm stealing the hay. But anyway, this is my nephew there. Anyway, he had this green. I remember it wasn't running when I saw it when I was a kid. There was a bunch of cars that used to be piled there before my aunts and uncle and my cousin and all that built there, and it was kind of like a car dump right there. And there was this green push button Dodge. I don't know what it was. It looked like a Ford Fairlane, but it was not a Ford Fairlane. It was a Dodge, and it was a green Dodge. And it had the wings on it. It was a 1950s car. And it had basically the push button transmission. Now, this car only got used, like most families in the 50s. Like, there was no hydro here until the early 80s. Okay, there was a house here before, and that's the second house that my grandmother and grandfather built. But here's the deal. That old car, they basically use that for grocery runs and church. So this is kind of like the Sunday car. You probably heard the expression, the Sunday car, right? And that's what it was, right? People just didn't drive for leisure because people were poor. You know, there was 7 in the family, you know, plus my grandmother and grandfather, right? So this was a functioning farm where the kids pretty much grew up on the food that was grown here, including my dad, right? My dad was basically born in the corner of that house. Like, yeah, so very homesteady, right? So Barney the horse, the best workhorse in the world, had this thing where no matter what you did, he would jump the fence and eat the grass on the other side all the time, right? He wouldn't run away. He wouldn't go down the town. He wouldn't do all that stuff. But what he would do is he would jump and just eat all the grass right there. That was his thing, right? And you'd catch him and you would put him back in. And sometimes, you know, he would just, you know, stay a couple of steps ahead of you and not let him put him back in. But you'd eventually always catch him and put him back in. And anyway, my grandfather had an 8N tractor and this car, right? And for whatever reason, the car was parked in here waiting for parts. Barney took it upon himself to rearrange the seat with his teeth. My grandfather nearly killed Barney. So that was action number 1. Now, my grandfather's 8N little Ford tractor, they made a billion of these things over the years. I think this one was a 1950. I would like to have one just to drive it around because they were so fun. Short little tractor. This thing would pull wheelies in the bush. Dangerous as hell, but it was a fun tractor. Anyway, he just bought a nice cushy leather seat for this open air tractor, right? Not even a day after. Barney, while chomping on some grass, accidentally chomped on my grandfather's seat, which my grandfather was going to kill Barney for this. So apparently this was the love-hate relationship between my grandfather and this horse named Barney. So all of a sudden one day, because my grandfather was too old and he wasn't healthy enough and everything like that, as his health started to deteriorate, he had to make the decision to get rid of the Barney. Now the question was he going to shoot him or sell him? And anybody that talks about Barney would chase me in the middle of the fields as a kid, me, my cousin, and stuff like that. My dog Duke, one of my most bestest pals of all time at the time, he's no longer with us. Good dog. He basically would chase the horse and nip Barney's heels and piss him off. And you would see this horse trying to stomp my Coley dog all the time. Like, it was just like Tom and Jerry kind of stuff, right? I'm sure Barney kicked him a few times, because a few times I saw the dog kind of like hobbling around. You could tell he was sore. So I'm like, oh yeah, Barney probably got him. But the dog would agitate him, right? So there, nice load of hay. Look at that. So that's why Barney basically got sold, is he kept eating my grandfather's tractor seats and car seats and stuff like that, and he was a real pain in the ass. Great horse, but a pain in the ass at the same time. All right, anyway, I'm gonna get my heist home. I have an eyewitness. I don't know what I'm gonna do with him. Yeah.